I've had vintage cars now for probably about 40 years, and I've never failed to be thoroughly impressed with the developments relative to the age of the car. Not only that, but also the drivability and the fun you have compared with a modern car. A modern car gets you from A to B, but the vintage car or the veteran car does tend to get you there with a degree of panache. As you drive along, you make so many friends on the way, because wherever you stop, whether it's a pub or even a garage getting petrol, people come up and talk to you about the car. So it's a very sociable world as well. So that if you're interested in cars, especially old cars, there's plenty of clubs, and I've met a lot of very interesting and very nice people through owning the car. This is a Stanley Model K, which is one of the more powerful ones. It's got the 30 horsepower engine and the big boiler. You've got bags of steam. Huge amount of torque, and I think, as you probably were a bit surprised today to see the amount of acceleration that the car can give you. I've had my GPS on this car on an open road, and we were doing 70. I was reluctant to go any further because it's only got two-wheel brakes, and so it's not so much how fast it'll go, it's how quickly it'll stop. The car has been rebuilt for me. It came in a packing case from the Stanley Museum in Ohio, and it was a box of parts, really, and it was rebuilt using all the original parts. Had a new boiler. The Gould organisation down in near Bath overhauled it for me, and the car you see today is a product of their restoration. I've had this car for about 10 years now, and touch wood, which I am, there's been never a problem. Firing up of a Stanley is pretty straightforward, but you've got to know what you're doing. First thing to do is to check the amount of water you've got in your glass, or which is representative of the water of the boiler. In this case, it causes a vacuum when it's cold, and it sucks water through the clack valves and from the water tank. So you usually find when you come to fire up the boiler is absolutely full to the brim with water. So first thing you do is undo the drain valves at the front and let out enough water, probably 3/4 of a glass of water, so you end up with 1/4 of a glass of water to fire it up because it's got the gas burner. The gas cylinder valve needs to be opened. The sparker started, which is there's a battery, and the switchgear is in this cabinet here. Open that up, turn the sparker on, turn the gas on, and then you've got the pilot light lit. There's a little gauge down here on the dashboard which then shows you the state of the heat of the pilot burner. When it gets into the green, you know that the pilot burner is hot enough to start firing up. You then start it on, a lot of people use just ordinary unleaded petrol, but hexane is the best fuel. The little tank down at the side here, which is pressurized to 30 or 40 pounds per square inch, and that's the starting fuel. Once you know that the burner is up to temperature, we open a valve down here which lets the starting fuel into the vaporizers. Because it's pure petrol or hexane, it vaporizes very easily, and you run that for a couple of minutes to get the boiler and the burner it's functioning nicely. And at the same time as you then close that down, you open the main fuel valve. Now the main fuel that we're burning, or would have been burnt, would have been kerosene on the day that the car was used in the States. Of course, kerosene is not easy to get now, so we've experimented with the replacement fuel, which is 50% petrol and 50% diesel. That mixture fires it beautifully. You're then firing the engine up, firing the boiler up on main fuel, and you have to keep cranking this handle here up and down to maintain the pressure in the two copper cylinders until the boiler is up to pressure. That probably would take, it's a nice warm day today, it's probably taken 20 minutes from cold. Once it gets up to 600 pounds per square inch on the gauge, the steam automatic starts cutting in and it shuts it down. So it's entirely automatic. It's then ready for just warming through the engine. We open the engine drain valve here and just crack the regulator open a fraction of an inch, just to let enough steam through to warm the engine up. And then you're ready. The car is enormous fun. Whenever I take anyone out in it, they tend to see, it looks obviously like a very old lady, 1908, and they tend to say, well, we're going to potter along. We get on the open road and I open the regulator. There's enormous torque on the car. Even at low revs, you've got 600 pounds of steam pressing on both the pistons. That whips it forward and the acceleration is quite considerable. It's a very light car. It carries very little weight other than the boiler, which is probably about half a ton. You've got 50 gallons of water, 20 gallons of fuel at the back. So most of the weight is in that rather than the actual weight of the car, which is actually very light construction. So it's huge fun. And if you don't mind the preliminaries of steaming it up, which really is nothing, then not only is it huge fun, but also I find when I'm driving it, the number of people that either come alongside and give a thumbs up or wave or whatever, it's very sort of very characteristic of old cars that other people are interested in them. You know, owning a car like this, or even a modern classic, it's like a passport. to meeting not only people of a similar disposition and similar interest, but it opens many a door to going to see other people's cars and collections that you would never normally be able to enjoy without them knowing, if you like, that you are a bit of a petrol head yourself. And so being a petrol head is if I may use that expression, is a passport. Having fun with the car, having fun with their cars. So it is a way of meeting extremely nice people. I found most people who are connected with old cars like this to be charming people. So I would say there's several advantages. It's much better than having money in the bank, and it's a good investment. And frankly, I found in my later years it's a wonderful way of not only entertaining yourself and your friends and companions, but also of meeting some charming people.